All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to break down this honestly fascinating economic concept that completely shatters the usual rules of supply. I mean, it might actually explain our modern obsession with the 4-day workweek. We are talking about the backward bending curve of labor. And hey, I know it sounds a little complicated right off the bat, but I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly how it works and why it literally flips traditional economics totally upside down. But first, quick question for you. Just picture this. Your boss pulls you aside today and offers you this massive, completely life-changing raise. Your hourly rate is suddenly through the roof. Now, naturally, you'd probably work way more hours to take advantage of it, right? Make bank while you can. But what if I told you that eventually getting paid more money would actually make you want to work less? I know, it sounds totally made up, but it's a very real economic phenomenon. Now, to get why this is so weird, we kind of need a quick refresher on the basics. The standard law of supply basically tells us that a higher price equals more supply. If the price of wheat goes up, farmers are going to plant way more wheat. If smartphones suddenly sell for more, factories pump out more smartphones. It's just common sense. Producers offer more of something when they get a better price for it. But today, we're totally busting that myth when it comes to one very specific, highly personal product: your time. Okay, so to see this in action, let's map it out like a giant game board. On the vertical y-axis, we've got the wage rate. Just think of this as the money, the actual price of your labor. And on the horizontal x-axis, we have quantity, which for us means labor hours, or your work time. So basically, moving up means you're making more money per hour, and moving to the right means you're working more hours. Simple enough, right? Well, here's the catch. Every single worker playing on this board faces this constant internal seesaw balancing act. On one side of the seesaw, you've got chasing cash. That's that relentless drive to earn more income to, buy things, pay the rent, actually build up some savings. But on the other side, you have choosing chilling. That's the pull for leisure time, relaxing, hanging out with friends, or literally just sleeping in. And ultimately, your wage determines which side of this seesaw comes down heavier. So, how does this actually play out across a whole career? We can break this worker's journey into 3 distinct phases. First up, there's the climb. Second, hitting the peak, which we call point T. And finally, the really surprising third phase, the backward bend. Let's walk through exactly what goes down at each step. All right, starting with this first phase, the climb. At this point, wages are relatively low. And because the worker really needs to cover their basic living expenses, chasing cash absolutely dominates that seesaw battle. As their wage rate increases, they happily trade away their playtime for more hours on the clock just to boost that income. They prefer labor over leisure. This drives the curve upward and to the right, perfectly following that normal law of supply we talked about. But eventually, things change. We hit a massive milestone, which is point T. Notice how the trajectory here just stops moving to the right and hits this absolute vertical wall? This represents the exact wage rate where the worker has finally accumulated enough wealth. Their basic needs are fully met, their savings account is looking healthy, and they finally feel, comfortable. Point T is the ultimate wealth turning point in this whole journey. And honestly, here is where the rules completely break. Past point T, as the wage rate continues to climb even higher, the curve doesn't keep going to the right. It actually bends cleanly backward to the left. Why? Well, because the worker is now highly wealthy, and that seesaw flips. They start valuing choosing chilling way more than a little extra cash. They realize, wait, I can actually work fewer hours, get vastly more free time, and still bring home plenty of money because my hourly rate is just so incredibly high. Higher prices literally just reduced the actual supply. So the absolute crucial takeaway here for your exams is how this curve exposes a tug of war between 2 economic forces. At lower wages, what we call the substitution effect wins. People substitute their free time for work just to survive. But past that point T, the income effect totally takes over. Because their income is now so high, time itself becomes vastly more valuable than just a few extra dollars. Like the quote says, higher prices usually mean more supply, unless the product is your own free time. It really makes you stop and think about your own life, doesn't it? I mean, we all start out on the climb, just trying to build our lives and get comfortable. But what's your personal point T? What is the exact hourly wage that would finally make you stop chasing cash, bend your own curve backward, and start choosing chilling? Definitely something to think about.